For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
15 days for Christmas shopping, 15 days to fill the stocking, 15 days for Christmas shopping, only got 15 more.
Hi, have you done your Christmas shopping? You better hurry up or
you'll be sorry.
Thank God it's Friday! To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
News team, assemble!
Joining us live because if you want to know anything about the Outer Banks, Sam Walker's the dude to fill you in.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli.
Always appreciate talking to you.
Always good stuff with Sam Walker in the Outer Banks.
Now here's Les Nessman and the news.
And good morning, everyone. It is OBX Today live for Friday.
Thank God it's Friday!
December the 10th, 2021. I'm Sam Walker. Glad to have you along here, presented by Gallup Funeral Services on the OBX Today Facebook page and the Sam Walker OBX YouTube channel. Mash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to know whenever we go live on both platforms. We got a lot to get to this morning, and well, let's just jump right in because we do have updated video from out in Southern Shores this morning that just came in to us. Courtesy Jennifer Thompson. She went out there on the beach this morning to get video of the Bald Eagle 2. And last night, they were out. High tide was around 12:30 last night. And they were out there trying to get the Bald Eagle 2 freed from the beach yesterday evening. You can see one of the other trawlers is offshore. And what Jennifer tells us, she talked with someone from Wanchee Seafood Company, said that the Coast Guard's given them a 3 p.m. deadline to get it pulled out today. Now, that's going to give them one more high tide, which is coming up this afternoon at 12:45 at Oregon Inlet. So about 1 o'clock, 1:15 up around Southern Shores. But last night, they did have an excavator out there, and we're digging, trying to dig out from underneath the bottom, while a trawler offshore was pulling to try and get this thing floated during high tide. Now, unfortunately, they weren't able to get it freed. That tow line snapped, and the Bald Eagle 2 remains grounded at Southern Shores around the Trout Run access, just south of the Trout Run access. Jennifer said that she did, in talking to folks from the salvage company and Wanchee Seafood, that they are going to start pumping the fuel off, and which part of that is, unfortunately, if they do that, they're not going to be able to use the engine on the Bald Eagle 2 to free it. Of course, that also means they'll be turning off the generators and all that stuff because they've kept power on. Although you can see the lights are all off now, but they had been keeping power on the whole time while they're out there trying to pull the Bald Eagle 2. The shrimp trawler came ashore Tuesday morning after running into engine trouble and then getting one of the nets wrapped around the prop. They weren't able to hold anchor, and with that onshore wind that we had on Tuesday morning and the waves, it did push it into the breakers around Dogwood Trail. It drifted south and has come not hard to ground is probably not the right way because it still is been bouncing back and forth at high tide. So, but it's definitely grounded just south of Trout Run. That's up near the Y intersection on Highway 12 in Southern Shore. So this is the latest courtesy of Jennifer Thompson. She went out there, got us video this morning. She also sent us some photos, which we'll be getting up at obxtoday.com for you after we get off the air. So there you go. That's the latest on the Bald Eagle 2 in Southern Shores, and we're keeping our eye on that story and keeping you updated right here and at obxtoday.com. All right, our other headlines to get to this morning. Everybody okay as far as volume levels go? I know sometimes we do get some volume issues. We'll make sure everything's okay. Okay. Yeah, we're not blasted. So, all right. My meters were kind of looking like they were. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go back to some more video. This is from Wes Snyder Photography. And if you haven't checked out his stuff, it's some great stuff. We've had him on the program before to talk about some of the photography he's done since moving here to the Outer Banks. This was from last night. Just to give you an idea what they were trying to do last night with the Bald Eagle 2. This was how things looked last night out there around midnight. Again, high tide was at 12:30. So they're using this excavator, trying to, float it, get some water underneath it, get the bottom cleared out from underneath it, using the bucket of the excavator to wiggle it on the stern, and really just trying to get it so it was free enough so that the boat that was offshore, and you'll see that boat kind of pop up here shortly, out to the right of the Bald Eagle 2. But again, this is from last night's efforts. And again, this is courtesy of Wes Snyder Photography on Facebook. You can go there. We'll share that up here in just a minute on our Facebook page. Just like we'll share Jennifer Thompson's video from this morning. There you go. There's kind of a time lapse. You can see that trawler offshore there trying to pull the bow while the excavator's used to try and right the stern and get it floated. But they just have not been able to do that. As we showed you a little while ago, not much progress. That's how it looked last night around midnight. And again, here's how it looked this morning at Trout Run in Southern Shores. So there's the latest on the Bald Eagle 2. All right, it is OBX Today Live, presented by Gallup Funeral Services here on Facebook and YouTube. Some of our other news this morning, that severe drought continues across eastern North Carolina and has expanded, and that's even though we got all that rain the other day, getting anywhere between 1 and 2 inches along the southern coast and half inch to an inch elsewhere on Wednesday. That did help to drop, get things so that they were safe enough to drop the open burning ban in much of North Carolina, 67 counties, which as you can see in the orange, that is severe drought. All of eastern North Carolina, the Outer Banks, just a little piece of Carteret County is not in that severe drought category. It's in the moderate drought. And that kind of carries up to Ocracoke. That's where the heaviest, that area of down east Carteret County got most of the rain on Wednesday. That's helped kind of ease the drought a little bit. And just to its west. Now, this drought map was put together on Tuesday using data through Tuesday before that rain came. So things may have changed since then. And we are expected to get a little bit more rain over the next couple of days. Today, we might get a slight chance this afternoon, and tonight, better chance overnight tomorrow night in the OBX Today Weather Center forecast. But the drought monitor here in North Carolina says that current conditions and forecast models reflect the warm, dry conditions that a La Nina weather pattern often brings could lead to drought conditions continuing through the winter. Corey Davis, who's assistant state climatologist with the North Carolina State Climate Office, said much of the state's been in a dry pattern over the past 3 to 6 months, with generally above normal temperatures and few to no tropical systems bringing widespread rainfall relief. The dryness has been especially pronounced since early October. Less than 1 inch of rain fell in most areas last month. That's the driest November since the Dust Bowl era, 90 years in North Carolina. The gradual deficit in October and more extreme shortfall in November has resulted in many areas being 4 to 7 inches below normal over the last 3 months. So severe drought, which is the D2 classification, that's the orange, is now covering more than half of the state. Another dry week added to precipitation deficits over the past 3 to 6 months. Of course, in past droughts, areas on the mainland, and includes several wildlife refuges, have been prone to wildfires that have burned the nutrient-rich peat soils for months. Go back to 2016, the Whipping Creek fire, which got started by a mower along 264, causing some sparks, some rocks. That fire eventually burned 15,000 acres in Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge and the Dare bombing range. The summer of 2016 was wetter than normal, helping ease drought conditions somewhat, and it took Hurricane Matthew the following October to finally bust that drought with its record-setting rainfall and flooding. Another serious drought year, 2011, that was the Paynes Bay fire year, burning over 45,000 acres of the refuge, and bombing range threatened to spread into the village of Stumpy Point. That fire smoldered in the peat soils for months until rains from Hurricane Irene finally put it out. So that's why we keep talking about this drought situation and why we're kind of hammering it as a story at obxtoday.com, because with what we've seen in the past, when you get conditions like this here in eastern North Carolina, our fire danger goes up, and the last thing we need is one of those fires that's producing smoke out there in the refuge, threatening stuff in the mainland. If you drive down 264 between Dare and Hyde counties as you get close to the Hyde County line, and you see the areas that were just devastated by the Paynes Bay fire 10 years ago, and it still does not recovered fully. And Cap Marty talks about all the time how, you seeing deer and bear through there all the time. That area, even though all the vegetation has come back, the animal life didn't come back. That fire really had an impact, and all these fires do that. So hopefully we'll avoid it, getting into those big fires. We do have a decent chance of rain forecast, but it does have thunderstorms in it. So, and of course, we've seen the Paynes Bay fire was a lightning spark storm. We've seen many fires over on the Dare County mainland and Hyde County, Terrell County, in both the Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge and the other refuges over there that have been sparked by these lightning strikes. We've seen it happen up in northern Currituck and into Camden with the lake fire that burned for months up there between Moyock and South Mills. So, and it's the soil, we call it peat soil. It's nutrient rich. People used to heat their houses here. I bet you didn't know that. People used to heat their houses here with the peat that comes out of the ground in a lot of these areas here in eastern North Carolina. So hopefully we'll avoid that. We're looking at probably not a lot of rainfall, maybe a quarter to a half inch total between now and Sunday. And then we're dry in the forecast all the way through Thursday. So unfortunately, it looks like we're not getting any drought busters anytime soon. We sure could use one. So right now, just the shower and thunderstorm activity is our big concern Saturday night with that front that's going to come through. Other headlines. WTKR TV reporting yesterday that District Attorney Andrew Womble is considering charging that 17-year-old Northeastern High School student who brought a gun and also drugs and a knife onto a school bus earlier this week. Could be facing charges as an adult, could be tried as an adult. Currently, the juvenile court system has handled it because the student is 17, but the district attorney's office is exploring the possibility of having that teen tried as an adult. They face numerous weapons and drug charges, and we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that story as well. The Currituck Sheriff's Office confirming yesterday that one of their deputies found a noose with a Confederate flag attached to it hanging on a utility line at the Corey's Ditch Bridge. That's on the Marsh Causeway, Highway 615, Knott's Island. They removed the rope and flag as soon as it was discovered early Monday morning around 6:30 a.m. Sheriff's Office is investigating the incident and ask anyone that has information is asked to contact the Currituck Sheriff's Office. You can call the business line at 453-8204 or call Currituck County's communications line. The non-emergency number is 232-2216. It's OBX Today Live here on Facebook and YouTube. More coming up on this Friday morning. Stay right there.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
So this is a long-term project focused on beach nourishment, primarily in Pea Island. The interesting thing about Pea Island, it is a national wildlife refuge, and so it's fairly protected. In 2014, the state of North Carolina, particularly DOT, completed a beach nourishment project to help protect NC-12. Since then, again, it's in a national wildlife refuge, so there hasn't been a whole lot of man-made, human-made impacts to that same location, to that same beach. So we can look at the implications, the influence of beach nourishment long-term since 2014 to really understand some of those long-term impacts associated with adding sand to the beach. So the study that we're doing here at the Coastal Studies Institute is really focused on the long-term implications, the long-term impacts of nourishment. Most studies that look at impacts of beach nourishment study it sort of right before the nourishment takes place and maybe a couple months after, or maybe a year or two after the nourishment project itself. Well, some of these processes take sometimes years to really demonstrate any implications, any changes that have taken place. And so because we have this opportunity at the Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge where there hasn't been another nourishment that's taken place, we have this opportunity to study that nourishment project over the course of 7 years. So we're looking at the sediment character, the sands themselves. We're looking at the morphology of the beach, the shape of the beach, that profile. We're looking at the invertebrates, the little critters that live inside the sand, because those critters, the ecology of the beach, are critical to shorebirds, turtles, things that feed on those invertebrates in the sand. And so although we're looking at these smaller things like the sediment character, the actual invertebrates, the implications of that move well up the food chain. And so with an understanding of these long-term implications of nourishment, we'll get a better understanding and be able to answer those questions of the influence that that project had on the ecology, on the morphology of the beach long-term, and then be able to apply that to other projects.
Every quarter, this is a quarterly survey, and it's been going on between us, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the North Carolina Department of Transportation since 2012. And what we do is we go out and we collect biological samples, sampling invertebrates in the swash zone and invertebrates up on the upper beach area to track abundances, shifts in distribution and populations, etc. We also collect geological data and fan samples in the swash and in the upper beach. We collect information on sediment compaction. We use GPS systems that are very precise in terms of location in the X, Y, and the Z, so height. In fact, the elevations can be accurate up to 1 centimeter, and sometimes even less than that. So we collect elevations along the beach, what we call cross shore, that's going from the shoreline up to the dune, and it gives us what's called a shoreline profile. What we do is we bring the sediment materials back to the lab, we clean them up and dry them, and then we go through a process called mechanical sieving. Mechanical sieving essentially separates the grains of sand into different size classes, and we use that information to tell us what's going on the beach. We can tell how much wave energy is out there and how much changes in the tide, and it gives us some idea then of how that might be affecting the ecological systems, the biology, the impacts associated with a lot of the animals that are on the beach, because they depend heavily in terms of their ability to feed, their ability to move around on the beach based on the distribution and size classes of the sediments out there. So the sediment analysis that we do is very important in that regard.
What we found is that the sand that was used was a really good match for Pea Island. Previous studies that have worked on short-term impacts of beach nourishment, over months and years, that have studied places that didn't have a good match, showed widespread mortality of invertebrates. And our study showed that, right away, like within a couple weeks following the nourishment of Pea Island, we had some mortality, but it came back really fast. That's why we think it's important to think about that and really try to match the sands as best as possible. Again, previous work in other areas that had bad match in materials showed mortality. Widespread mortality, and it changed the ecology of the beach. So this partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has really allowed us to study this process that we probably couldn't have done elsewhere. It's like a laboratory on the beach itself, because it is protected, because we have such a good partnership with Fish and Wildlife Service. And so that's been really helpful and unique to this particular project.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
Our pet of the week for this week is Sammy. Sammy is a super lovable 8.5-year-old girl. She loves to lay around and sunbathe, but also loves playing with little toys. Sammy has been the only animal her whole life, so she prefers to be your one and only. She loves attention, but does not like being picked up. To adopt Sammy or foster one of our other animals, you can come visit us Monday through Saturday at our shelter located in Manteo. For more information, visit our website at www.obxspca.org or visit our OBX SPCA Facebook page.
Back on OBX Today Live here on Facebook and YouTube. A live shot from just south of Jeanette's Pier at Whalebone Junction. See another trawler out there chasing those shrimp. If you weren't with us earlier this morning, the latest from Southern Shores, the Bald Eagle 2 is still there. And from what we've learned, the Coast Guard's giving them till this afternoon to get through this high tide to try and get it refloated. Otherwise, then things are going to have to change. So we'll keep you up to date throughout the day at obxtoday.com on the latest there. Good morning to all you folks joining us on the Facebook page. Cindy, Wayne, Franklin, Sean, Susan, George, good morning. Thanks for joining us. And make sure you're hitting that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to know whenever we go live on the OBX Today Facebook page and the Sam Walker OBX YouTube channel. Governor Roy Cooper signed into law Thursday a bill that'll make it a felony for public officials to financially benefit from their titles. Legislators introduced a bill this year in response to a 2020 investigation by North Carolina State Auditor Beth Wood that found a Rocky Mount City Council member had not paid his utility bill since 1999. In addition to criminalizing elected officials who use their position for their own personal financial gain, that same bill also gives the local government commission more leeway to enforce that towns and cities conduct annual audits. Now, a bill that the governor vetoed yesterday would have prevented local governments from banning natural gas and new construction and limited public information about drinking water. No local governments in North Carolina have moved to ban natural gas from new construction, but some governments in California and in northeastern United States have done so. North Carolina ABC Commission says they responded with key changes after that widespread liquor shortage throughout the state earlier this year, caused in part by the botched implementation of a new inventory system. CBS 17 in Raleigh reports that the has a story this morning. Of course, the head of the commission abruptly resigned in September, just as the commission was having problems with a newly purchased inventory control system. Now, officials told WNCN Thursday that there are still supply challenges for a variety of projects ongoing. LB&B Associates began a new contract on July 1st managing the state liquor, warehouse, and delivery services for the commission to the local ABC boards. And an attorney for the company admitted to problems but would not appear before a legislative committee. Various ABC boards across the state were not receiving their expected shipments, which are sent from 2 warehouses in Wake County. About 170 ABC boards across the state dominate the sale, distribution, and prices of liquor in a system that's been in place since the 1940s. Now they say that they've been able to get things much better, 43% increase since July 2021 in shipments. That was the November number, according to spokesman Jeff Strickland. Of course, the ABC stores here on the Outer Banks have been experiencing that. I know Buxton for a while was having problems keeping stock. Back in the summer, same thing with all the stores around. It seemed to be a little bit better here in the last, right around Thanksgiving. And the ABC Commission says that they have been able to improve their service and their shipments to local stores dramatically over what was going on in the summer. Elizabeth City State University and Wake Tech Community College up in Raleigh broke ground on a new technology center Thursday in Wake County. The 106-acre tech center named Eastern Wake 4.0 will expand unmanned aviation programs offered in North Carolina. The facility will have integrated teaching labs from multiple universities, allowing students to transfer easily and work together on the latest projects. ECSU has a long history of aviation education and expertise. They started developing a comprehensive unmanned aircraft systems program about 4 years ago. ECSU Chancellor Kerry Dixon telling WITN TV all about it. The Eastern Wake 4.0 training site, which will be located along the I-87 US 64 corridor, is projected to open for classes in the fall of 2023. In 2019, Elizabeth City State became the first and only university in North Carolina to offer a bachelor's degree in unmanned aircraft systems. Some real estate news from our friends down at the Island Free Press. Joy Christ reporting yesterday that Outer Beaches Realty was sold to international vacation rental management company Vacasa. And plans are in the works to combine Outer Beaches with Hatteras Realty in the coming year, creating the largest vacation rental provider on Hatteras Island. Hatteras Realty initially sold to Wyndham Vacation Rentals in 2014 before Vacasa purchased 2 Outer Banks-based Wyndham companies, Hatteras Realty and Corolla Classic Vacations, in 2019. So we'll get this up on the real estate page at obxtoday.com, and you can swing by islandfreepress.org right now to read more about it. I got a story that's going to post here at the top of the hour on the H2O page at obxtoday.com. Currituck County is becoming one of the first coastal communities in the United States to participate in a project that will utilize coastal web cameras for quantitative scientific analysis, public safety, and resource management for coastal municipalities. It's a NOAA-funded project called Webcams for Coastal Observations and Operational Support, WebCOOS. We've talked with our friends down at the National Weather Service about this last spring, in fact. when they held a rip current and beach hazards seminar over several days. And one of the things that came up was that they were going to be getting webcams installed up and down the coast to better predict and also to have almost real-time and have real-time data of what's going on with the rip current situation. That's one of the big things that's going to come out of this. Currituck County is partnering with the Southeast Coastal Ocean Observing Regional Association, the University of South Carolina, UNC Wilmington, the University of California, Santa Cruz, Axiom Data Science, NOAA, the U.S. Geological Survey, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. A pair of web cameras are being installed in Corolla. One's already up at the Hampton Inn at Pine Island. The other's going to go up at Whalehead around milepost 8, or the Currituck milepost 8. Those web cameras are going to be public, so we're going to be able to tap into them here at OBX Today live and use them as some different views. But it will give an opportunity for a variety of different agencies to be able to better see what's going on with the ocean, especially with the surf conditions, and will improve greatly the rip current forecasting. Already seeing massive improvements in how the forecasts for rip currents are done, with how the data is put out to us, and then we share it with you, breaking down into closer areas where a rip current threat may be higher on one part of the beach and lower in others, and vice versa. Being able to better inform the public and also give the public an opportunity to say, hey, that looks pretty rough. I may not want to go today. So that's just some of the cool stuff that is being added. And we'll have that story, like I said, coming up at obxtoday.com on the H2O page at the top of the hour once we get off the air here. A week from today, it is the 118th anniversary of the Wright brothers' first flight on Big Kill Double Hill. Celebration, as always, going to happen this next Friday at 9 a.m. Wright Brothers National Memorial and the First Flight Society celebrating. Park entrance fees are waived on this day. The program will begin at 9 and run up till 10 o'clock, and then, of course, the flyover at 10:35. This year's flyover is going to have several planes. We got the info on that, and it's not included in the story. I need to get that updated. Outer Banks Forever are the nonprofit that supports the 3 national parks here in the Outer Banks. We'll have a live stream up for the event if you can't make it out. And one of the cool things that will be happening is this year's induction into the Paul E. Garber First Flight Shrine. Sally Ride, the first American woman to travel into space, will be inducted. Of course, she served as mission specialist on a pair of missions in 1983 and 1984 on Challenger. Later became professor of physics at UC San Diego, director of the California Space Institute. She co-founded the Sally Ride Science in 2001 to inspire girls and boys of all backgrounds in STEM. She passed away in July 2012. So she'll be inducted posthumously next Friday, a week from today, into the Paul E. Garber Shrine at the Wright Brothers National Memorial. Her portrait will hang for the full year. Coming up, of course, they do have the portraits now, rather than having them throughout the gallery around the Wright flyer that is on display at Wright Brothers National Memorial. They now have digital representations of those photos in a display, and there are those portraits. And those portraits are still being stored as they try to determine what they can do to possibly re-display all the portraits. That was something when the Wright Brothers National Memorial Visitor Center was renovated, that the portraits was brought down to bring the gallery back to its original state when the building was built in the 60s, and then deciding what they're going to do with the portraits. But you can see all the portraits that are part of the Paul E. Garber First Flight Shrine on display in a digital format there at the Visitor Center. There will be all types of programs going on throughout the day with the Ranger-led education programs. The event will happen outdoors. Physical distancing will limit the potential spread of COVID-19. Masks are required when physical distancing cannot be maintained. There will be all types of the usual stuff, the wreath laying, unveiling of the portrait, and again, the flyover at 10:35. Now, next weekend, also, the Candy Bomber is going to be back. There'll be activities going on out at the Dare County Regional Airport next weekend. On Saturday, the Spirit of Freedom will be open to the public from 9 to 4 at the Dare County Regional Airport. And then they'll do the candy drop on Sunday the 19th at 1 o'clock. And if you're wondering, you can actually see what's going to be used as a candy bar. It's not the one that has been coming. This is the Spirit of Freedom. This is the plane that's going to be used for this year's event. Actually flew many missions throughout the Berlin airlift back at the end of World War II. And you can see that plane right now. It is they came in last month over to the Elizabeth City Regional Airport and has been there ever since. It's going to be headed down next week to Dare County Regional Airport for the First Light celebrations. The OBX Today Tacky Light Tour is well underway. We're adding even more places all the time. Folks are asking to get on there. The Tacky Light Tour has got the best Christmas light displays in the Outer Banks and in northeastern North Carolina. From Wanchese to Windsor, Mattamuskeet to Moyock. If you don't see one of your favorites, just let me know. You can send me an email, send photos or video, or leave a comment on our story. And we've got an interactive map that's now tied into Google Maps, which makes it even better. It's got all the locations so you can easily find all the great spots with the Tacky Light Tour at obxtoday.com. All right, we'll step aside, come back with more here